Welcome back to the deep end. I was standing in my kitchen this morning staring at this new espresso machine I bought. It's a beast.
Oh, yeah.
It's got, I don't know, 17 buttons, a steam wand, a pressure gauge.
Yeah.
It honestly looks like the cockpit of a fighter jet. And naturally, the first thing I did was panic.
Right.
I didn't admire the engineering. I didn't think about the physics of extraction. I just grabbed the manual. I needed the recipe. Step 1,
Yeah.
fill tank. Step 2, grind beans. Step 3, pray it doesn't explode.
It is the universal desire for a checklist, isn't it? We want the input to equal the output immediately. It feels efficient.
It is efficient.
Yeah.
We want the algorithm. If I do A, B, and C, I get the result. It's linear, it's safe, and, well, it's functional. And I was thinking, for a lot of us, and I'm including myself here, that is exactly how we approach religion or spirituality.
Mm.
We treat holy books like that espresso manual. We scan the index for the Fix My Life section. We look for the recipe for salvation, do this ritual, avoid that food, say this word, and ding, you're a good person. Salvation served.
It becomes a transactional relationship. You end up viewing the text as a utility. But here's the fundamental problem with that approach, I think. A manual assumes the user stays the same.
Oh, that's interesting. What do you mean?
Well, the machine changes, the coffee appears, but you are just the operator. You haven't fundamentally altered your nature. You have just, performed a task.
And that is the record scratch moment for today's deep dive. We are looking at a stack of notes here from week 3 of the Qura'an lecture series. And the core argument is going to completely dismantle that recipe book mentality.
It really does.
We are exploring the idea that the book isn't an instruction manual for doing things. It's a catalyst for becoming something else entirely.
It's a huge shift from, let's say, performative religion to transformative character building. And we are drawing these insights directly from the work of Dr. Haider Riza.
Right, and for anyone who might be new to his work, we should be clear. We're talking about a scholar with over 40 years of deep research into Quranic exegesis and Islamic mysticism.
He really doesn't just skim the surface. He goes right into the linguistic and the metaphysical roots of the text. It's quite profound.
It is. And because we are diving into some very specific, high-level theology here, we need to set the ground rules. First, transparency is key. We are, and I want to state this clearly, extremely grateful to Dr. Haider Riza for this source material.
Absolutely.
But we also need to state that the summary and explanations we are discussing today were generated with the assistance of AI, purely for the purpose of a lecture recap. We're the guides using the map, but we didn't draw the map ourselves.
Precisely. And that means that if there is anything in our discussion today that is misunderstood or misinterpreted or inaccurately conveyed, Dr. Haider Riza bears no responsibility for those inaccuracies.
That's on us.
It's on us. We are doing our absolute best to synthesize these complex ideas, but the original lectures are the primary source and the final authority.
Also, it is worth noting that this material comes specifically from the Shia school of thought. So you're going to hear us treating all prophets and religious personalities with the utmost reverence and respect.
Which is central to Dr. Riza's approach. And as you said earlier, it's just good manners when you're dealing with sacred history.
Absolutely. We are dealing with concepts that people hold very, very dear. And the tone of the lecture itself is one of deep respect and spiritual seriousness.
Yes.
So here is our mission for the next hour. We're going to try and decode a single powerful concept. Karamat, nobility. But we aren't talking about nobility like, British royalty or wearing a fancy hat.
Not at all.
We're talking about a cosmic standard of character. And to get there, we have to look at how the Creator designed the human being, not just biologically, but metaphysically. We are going to look at the factory settings of the human soul.
It's a fascinating journey because it connects the very beginning of creation all the way down to the daily behavior of the individual.
I love that. Picture this with us. We are leaving the noise of the daily news cycle. We are stepping into a quiet, dimly lit library. High ceilings. You can see these faint, geometric Islamic art patterns on the walls. Those infinite patterns that remind you of eternity.
A contemplative space.
It's quiet. It's focused. We're here to unpack the mind of the Creator.
So let's go back to your espresso machine for a moment. That whole recipe mindset. Dr. Riza actually opens his analysis by challenging this head-on.
He does.
He says that many people approach the Quran expecting, well, a cookbook. Take this verse, mix with this prayer, add a pinch of salt, heat.
And why doesn't that work? I mean, functionally, if you look at them, religious laws often look like lists. Don't steal, don't kill, do pray. It feels like a checklist.
They do look like lists on the surface, yes. But Dr. Riza argues that you cannot mechanically read verses or perform actions without the Rab, the Lord, the sustainer, being the central variable in the whole equation.
The active.
The active agent. If you treat the text as a standalone algorithm, you are missing the point. The text doesn't work by itself. It works because of who wrote it. It is, at its core, relational, not mechanical.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate with you here, because Dr. Riza actually brings up this counter-argument in the lecture, and I think it's the question a lot of modern listeners would ask.
Go for it.
Let's say I ignore the Rab. I ignore the spiritual side completely. I just focus on the material world. I study physics, I study medicine, I study engineering. I can still be incredibly successful, right?
Of course.
I can build a bridge that doesn't collapse. I can perform heart surgery that saves a life. The laws of physics don't seem to care if I'm spiritual or not. I mean, gravity works for the atheist and the believer equally.
You are absolutely right, and the source material concedes this point immediately. This
Yeah.
is not about being anti-science or denying material reality at all. You can achieve material mastery. You can understand the how of the universe perfectly. You can be a brilliant scientist or a wealthy CEO. The Earth yields its resources to anyone who learns the physical laws. The source is very, very clear on that. Success in the material world is available to anyone who follows the material laws, period.
So if I can be a successful, functioning, wealthy human being without this recipe, what is the missing piece? Why do I need the spiritual connection? I mean, if the bridge stands, isn't that enough?
Well, it comes down to the outcome of the human being themselves. Not the outcome of their work, but the outcome of their self.
Okay, unpack that.
You might function perfectly as a biological machine or as an intellectual engine, but are you fulfilling your design purpose? Dr. Riza argues that without the connection to the source, without the Rab in the equation, you are a product that has no relationship to its designer. You are efficient, perhaps, but you are not aligned. The text isn't designed to just give you information. It's designed to connect you to the attributes of the author.
So the bridge might stand, but the engineer who built it might be empty.
Exactly. The engineer might be technically brilliant, but spiritually hollow or morally aimless. And that aimlessness is what the text seeks to cure.
And this leads us to the central metaphor of this lecture, which I found so helpful. It's the classroom analogy.
It's brilliant.
It really helps visualize this shift from doing to being.
It's a fantastic way to reframe the entire experience of life. Imagine for a moment that you wake up sitting at a desk in a classroom.
Okay, I'm there. Uncomfortable chair, fluorescent lights, smell of chalk dust.
Yeah.
The usual.
But here's the catch. You don't know what class you're in. There is no syllabus on the desk. You don't have a textbook yet. You are just there.
That's a disorienting situation.
It is. How do you know what you are supposed to learn? How do you know if you are failing or succeeding if you don't even know the subject?
I'd probably look at the other students, but I guess if they're just as lost as me, that doesn't help. We'd just be copying each other's confusion.
Exactly. And that is often how we live our lives, isn't it? We copy what others are doing, making money, seeking fame, whatever it is, without knowing if that's the actual subject matter of the course.
It feels very familiar.
But then, in this analogy, you get a single clue, a critical piece of information. You are told who the teacher is.
Okay, so the identity of the instructor defines the curriculum.
Right. If I tell you the teacher walking through that door is a world-renowned surgeon, what class are you in?
I'm in medical school. I'm learning surgery. I'm definitely not there to learn poetry or auto mechanics.
And if the teacher is a master architect?
Then I'm learning architecture. I'm learning about structure, form, design. The identity of the teacher defines the subject matter. It's obvious.
Precisely. And this is the aha moment from the source. Dr. Riza explains that in this madrasa, the school of life, the teacher identifies himself specifically by one name in the opening of the revelation.
This is at the very beginning.
The very beginning. When the revelation begins, God introduces himself, and the name he chooses in that specific context is critical.
He calls himself Al-Akram.
Al-Akram, the most noble, the most generous.
So let's apply the logic of the classroom. If the teacher is Al-Akram, the most noble, then what is the class about?
The class is about Karamat. It's a course in nobility.
That is such a simple but. It feels like a radical shift in perspective.
It changes everything. It reframes the entire purpose of revelation. It isn't just a list of do's and don'ts. It is a curriculum designed to take a human being and graduate them as a noble entity.
As a Qur'an being.
As a Kareem being, you are there to become like the teacher. If the teacher is noble, the student must learn nobility.
I want to pause on that word, karamat and akram, kareem, because words matter so much and things often get lost in translation.
They do.
In English, when we say noble, I think of knights in armor or maybe British royalty. Or maybe just someone who is nice and refuses to take a bribe. And generous. I think of someone who tips well at a restaurant. It feels a bit polite, a bit stiff.
It's much deeper than that.
Yeah. And Dr. Riza does a linguistic deep dive here that suggests we are missing the gravity of this word.
We are absolutely missing the gravity. In Arabic, the root structure is everything. You have the root karim, which encompasses nobility, yes, but also generosity, dignity, honor, high-mindedness. It is the absolute opposite of everything base, cheap, or low.
Okay.
But God describes himself as al-akram.
That's the grammar part, the superlative form.
Yes. In grammar, the superlative always implies a comparison. Big, bigger, biggest. Noble, nobler, most noble. By using al-akram, God is establishing a hierarchy.
A standard.
A standard. He is saying, there may be other noble beings, but I am the source. I am the peak. I am the standard by which all nobility is measured.
So it implies that nobility is a spectrum. You can be a little noble, you can be very noble, and then there is the ultimate nobility.
Correct. And the logic Dr. Riza presents is that the purpose of the madrasa of life is to move up that spectrum. It is a total transformation of the self. He describes it as a vertical movement.
A vertical movement.
We are moving away from basti, which translates to lowliness, pettiness, or being in the depths, and we are climbing toward bulandi, which is elevation, highness, or dignity.
From the gutter to the stars, spiritually speaking.
In a manner of speaking, yes. The goal is to elevate the human character so that it leaves the basti of its animal instincts and its pettiness and rises to the bulandi of a divine character.
And this isn't just some vague feeling of being better. The source material points out a very specific pattern in the Qur'an of who gets invited into this club of nobility.
Yes.
It creates a very exclusive social circle. I actually have that list here, and it really struck me when I saw it laid out. It's like looking at the guest list for the most important dinner party in the universe.
So let's look at that list. Who is on it?
Okay, first, obviously, the Lord is Akram, the most noble. That's the host of the party.
Right.
Second, the messenger, the prophet, is described as Rasul and Kareem, the noble messenger.
Mm-hmm.
Third, the angels, the actual couriers of the divine message, are called Kareem.
The bringers of revelation.
Exactly. And finally, the text itself is Qur'an Karim, the noble Qur'an.
Look at the company you are joining. Just think about that for a second. This is profound. By acquiring karamat, a human being elevates themselves into this specific divine categorization.
It's not generic.
No. You aren't just a good person in a generic sense. You are aligning your essential character with the prophet, with the angels, and with God himself. That is the goal of the class. It isn't just to pass a test. It is to become someone who belongs in that room.
Belonging in the room.
Oh.
That is a powerful phrase. It makes me think about imposter syndrome. You know, that feeling when you walk into a room of experts and you just feel like a total fraud.
Yes, I know the feeling.
Dr. Riza seems to be saying that the whole purpose of life is to shed that fraudulence, so that when we stand before the divine, we actually fit in. We're not pretending.
Exactly, to be compatible with the divine presence. If God is noble, he loves nobility. If your character is low or petty, there is a fundamental mismatch. There's a friction. The training of life is to remove that friction.
But this implies that right now, maybe we don't belong in that room, that we have to leave something behind to get in. You mentioned that word basti. Let's unpack that.
Yes.
Because when I hear lowliness or pettiness, my mind might jump to, say, poverty, or maybe I think of someone with a low-status job. Is this about class? Is this about money?
Dr. Riza is very, very quick to correct that assumption, and this is crucial for the listener to understand. Karamat and basti are absolutely not economic terms.
Not at all.
You can be the wealthiest person in the world, flying in private jets, wearing the finest silk, and yet, in the eyes of the system, you can be filled to the brim with basti. You can be spiritually low.
So a CEO can have basti.
A CEO, a king, a celebrity, absolutely. If their character is petty, if their soul is small, they are in a state of basti regardless of what their bank account looks like.
And conversely,
Conversely, you can be materially poor, sleeping on the floor, possessing nothing but the clothes on your back, but possess immense karamat. Your soul can be high class even if your wallet is completely empty.
so it's an internal state.
It is purely an internal state, not an external possession.
So what defines basti? What is this lowliness we need to scrub off? If it's not money, what is it?
It is the pettiness of thoughts, the degradation of character, it's small-mindedness. It is being ruled by your lowest impulses, greed, jealousy, spite, all of those things. But the source makes a very explicit, almost startling connection here.
Which is?
The absolute antithesis of nobility, the very height of lowliness, is falsehood. Lying. Deception. Dr. Riza points out that the lowest form of speech, the absolute bottom of the barrel for the human soul, is speaking to deceive.
Wow, that hits hard. Because in our culture, we often nuance lying, don't we?
Right.
We call it strategy. We say, oh, I'll just tell a little white lie to get out of this meeting, or I'll fudge the numbers to look better to the investor.
Lubrication.
Right. Or I'll tell them I'm 5 minutes away when I haven't even left the house. We see it as a tool for survival. But here, it's being presented as dirt.
It is spiritual grime. Think about the description of the prophet again. Rasul and Kareem, a noble messenger. This title implies that his speech and his character are entirely free from the degradation of falsehood.
He is noble specifically because he is true.
Precisely. If you introduce a lie into your personality, you're introducing basti. You are lowering yourself consciously.
It's like wearing a tuxedo and then deciding to go roll in the mud. You can't be in the noble company if you're covered in the mud of lies.
It's a perfect analogy. And think about why we lie. This is where the psychology of it comes in. Usually, we lie out of fear or out of need.
Sure.
We lie because we are afraid of the consequences of the truth or because we need to manipulate someone to get what we want.
Right. It's a position of weakness. A king doesn't need to lie. He just says what is. A beggar might lie to survive. Or a criminal lies to hide their crime.
That is the insight. Al-Akram, the most noble, has no need for falsehood because he has no needs and he has no fears. He is absolute. So when a human being lies, they are admitting a kind of spiritual poverty.
They're admitting they're weak.
They are admitting they are weak or afraid or needy. To become Kareem is to develop a strength of character where the lie becomes unnecessary. You become dignified enough to stand by the truth regardless of the consequence.
So the goal of this classroom is to purify the self until no grime remains. It is to create a human being who is consistent, truthful, and dignified in all situations.
Yes. A human being who is the same on the inside as they are on the outside. That is the definition of nobility here.
This concept of consistency is really interesting, and it connects directly to a Q&A segment that came up in the lecture.
On taqwa.
Yes, on taqwa, God, consciousness, and fasting, or rosa. And I think this is where the rubber meets the road.
Yep.
Because it's easy to sit here and say, don't lie, be noble. It's much harder to actually do it when the pressure is on.
It is. We need a mechanism of change. How do you actually train the brain to stop the basti? How do you install the antivirus for the soul?
So in the lecture, someone asked about the purpose of fasting. And the common understanding, that recipe book understanding, again, is obedience. I'm not eating because God told me not to eat.
A compliance test.
Exactly. Do what you're told. But Dr. Riza flips it. He asks, is it just about not eating?
And the answer, based on the source, is a resounding no. If it were just about hunger, simple starvation would be an act of worship, but it's not. The exclusive purpose of the provision, the act of fasting, is to become mutaki.
To possess taqwa.
To possess taqwa.
Okay, taqwa. That is one of those big religious words that gets thrown around so much it can lose its edge. We translate it as fear of God, or God consciousness, or piety, but those are abstract concepts.
You are.
I mean, fear of God sounds like being afraid of a lightning bolt. Dr. Riza gives a scenario that makes it so much more visceral. He talks about a long, hot summer day.
This illustration is perfect. Let's put the listener in that scene right now. Imagine it is the middle of July. It is 100 degrees outside. You are fasting. You haven't had a drop of water since 4:00 p.m. It is now 3:00 p.m.
I can feel that.
Your throat is like sandpaper. Your head is pounding. Your entire body is screaming for hydration.
Every single cell in your body is just saying, water, now.
Now, imagine you are completely alone in your house. The curtains are drawn. It is dark and cool inside. No one is home. Your family is out. You walk into the kitchen. You open the fridge. And there's a pitcher of ice-cold water.
Oh,
You
man.
can see the condensation dripping down the side. The ice cubes are clinking.
That's the test. That is the ultimate temptation.
Here's the reality. No human being on Earth can see you. If you drink that water, no one will know. You can wipe your mouth, walk out the front door, and still pretend you are fasting.
You can still get the social credit.
You can still tell your friends, man, this fast is tough, and get all the social credit of being a good faster. No police officer will arrest you. No camera will catch you.
But you don't drink. Why?
That is the aha moment. You do not drink because you believe with absolute certainty that there is a witness. You believe God is watching. That specific restraint, that split second where your biological urge screams, drink, and your spiritual will says, no, I'm being watched. That moment is taqwa.
It's living under the gaze.
Yes. Taqwa is the state of living constantly under the gaze of God. It is the awareness that you are never actually alone. And Dr. Riza connects this beautifully back to nobility.
How so?
He says the more a person feels they are in God's presence, the further they stay from basti.
That makes total sense. Think about normal human behavior. You don't pick your nose when you're on stage in front of 1,000 people, right?
Yes.
You don't commit cheap or low acts when you feel you're being observed by a king or, just someone you really respect.
Precisely. The presence of a dignified observer compels you to be dignified. If you truly believe you are in the presence of Al-Akram, the most noble, you naturally start to behave with nobility.
You wouldn't lie in front of the ultimate truth.
You wouldn't be petty in front of the most generous. So taqwa isn't just fear of punishment. It's the awareness that elevates your behavior to match the company you are in.
So let's just recap the logic chain here because it's really, really tight.
Let's do it.
Okay, number 1, the classroom is life.
Check.
Number 2, the teacher is Al-Akram, the most noble.
Yeah.
3, the curriculum is karamat, becoming noble.
The goal?
4, the enemy of that goal is basti lowliness, which is epitomized by lying. And 5, the study method, the tool, is taqwa, acting as if the teacher is always in the room watching you.
That is the entire framework. It creates a self-regulating human being.
Right.
You don't need a policeman on every corner if the human being has an internal compass that is calibrated to the divine gaze.
I mean, a society built on taqwa would effectively have no crime, no deception, because everyone is policing themselves from the inside.
It's a high ideal, but that's the vision.
That's a beautiful vision. But now I want to pivot.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about the classroom, we've talked about the psychology of the student. Now I want to go into the factory.
The workshop.
The workshop. Because the lecture takes a turn into some deep theology here. Dr. Riza asks, how did we get here? How does God actually create this human being who is capable of nobility? Is it just, biology?
This is where we leave the social metaphors and enter the metaphysical workshop. This part of the lecture is dense, I'll admit, but it is incredibly rewarding.
It is.
Dr. Riza explains that creation isn't just a single finger snap. We often think God just says be, and it is, which is true in essence. But the process reveals different attributes of the divine. It's a multi-stage process involving specific divine names.
He breaks it down into 3 names, Al-Khaliq, Al-Bari, and Al-Musawwir. Now, I'll be honest, before reading this, I thought those were just synonyms for creator. I thought they were basically interchangeable.
And most people do. But in the science of tafsir, or exegesis, every single word has a specific nuance. Dr. Riza uses a manufacturing analogy like product design that makes the distinction crystal clear.
Okay.
Think of it like bringing a new car or a new smartphone into existence.
All right, let's build a human being using the product design analogy. Step 1, Al-Khaliq. What is that?
Al-Khaliq is the conceptual phase. Think of the chief designer or the architect. Before a building exists on the street, where does it exist?
It exists in the architect's mind. It's an idea, a concept, a vision.
And exactly. Al-Khaliq refers to creation from nothing, the inception of the idea itself. It is the divine knowledge of the thing before the thing has any substance. God creates the reality of the human being in his knowledge. He envisions you, not your body yet, but the reality of you, the whatness of you.
That's heavy. So creation starts with an idea. It starts with an intention. God intended for humanity to exist. Then we move to the second stage, Al-Bari.
Al-Bari is the technical phase. If Khaliq is the grand idea, Bari is the detailed blueprint. This is where the details are distinguished and defined. It's the engineering schematics.
Okay.
It's distinguishing that this creation will have these features, these limits, this capacity. It separates the specific design from the general concept.
So Khaliq says a human. Bari says this specific human with 2 arms, a heart that pumps blood, a brain that processes logic, a potential lifespan of 70 years.
Correct. The root of bari implies a separation, a cutting, like a tailor cutting cloth to a specific pattern. It defines the boundaries of the thing, and boundaries are crucial. Without boundaries, you don't have a distinct object.
So we have the idea, kalik, and the blueprint, bari. But we're still not physical yet. We are still in the realm of command and design.
That brings us to the third name, al-musawwir.
The fashioner, the shaper.
This is the manufacturing phase. This is where the raw material comes in to give the idea its physical form. This is where the clay and water mentioned in the Qur'an come into play. Musawwir is the artist who gives the final shape, the face, the complexion, the physical beauty.
This is a really crucial distinction in the lecture. Dr. Riza points out that we often obsess over the clay. We think, oh, I'm made of dust. We focus on our humble biological origins.
But the clay is just the medium. It is just the plastic and glass of the smartphone. The real origin of the phone isn't the plastic. It's the engineering genius at Apple or Samsung.
The design.
The design. Dr. Riza clarifies that the clay and water are just the materials for the musawwir stage. The real origin of the human being is in the khaliq and bari stages, in the divine knowledge and the divine blueprint.
That is a trippy thought. My origin isn't just the biology of my parents or the evolution of cells. My origin is an idea in the mind God from before time.
It shifts your whole identity, doesn't it? You aren't just evolved mud. You are a realized divine thought. You were known before you were made.
And speaking of biology and making, there's this beautiful poetic image Dr. Riza shares about the musawwir stage. He talks about painting on water.
Oh, this is one of my favorite parts. He quotes a line of poetry that essentially challenges any human artist to do what God does. Think about it. If you want to paint a portrait, what do you need?
I need a canvas. I need paper, a stone wall, something solid, something that stays still. If I try to paint on water, the colors just swirl and vanish. You can't impose structure on a liquid.
Exactly. Human manufacturing requires rigid materials to hold a form. We build with steel, concrete, wood, but God, as al-musawwir, creates the intricate, complex human form from a fluid.
But biological fluid, the drop.
Yes. He takes a drop of liquid, which is formless, chaotic, by its very nature fluid, and he imposes the most complex structure in the known universe upon it. He paints a masterpiece on water. He makes bone, nerve, muscle, and eye from a single droplet. That is the miracle of al-musawwir.
It's the miracle of biology seen through a theological lens. We start as fluid, and we end up with bones that support weight, eyes that perceive light, brains that process philosophy. It's incredible.
And then there's the final step, the one that no manufacturer, no matter how advanced, can ever replicate. Because up to this point, you could argue a sophisticated robot is also designed and built.
The soul, the ruh.
Yes. After the musawwir phase, after the shape is perfectly made, God breathes spirit into it. This is an invention purely of the divine. It turns the mannequin into a conscious being. It turns the biological machine into a moral agent.
It gives the capacity for karamat.
It gives the capacity for nobility.
And this brings it all back around to the beginning. Why go through all this trouble? Why the design, khaliq, the detail, bari, the shaping musawwir, the painting on water? Was it just to make a machine that eats and sleeps and reproduces?
No. That would be an incredible waste of such intricate design. The design specifications were for karamat. The hardware, the body, and the software, the soul, were optimized to run the program of nobility.
You were built to be noble.
You were built to reflect the attributes of the teacher.
So if we are being petty, if we are lying, if we are living in Basti, then we are operating outside of our design specs. We are malfunctioning products. We are like a supercomputer being used as a doorstop. We are failing to honor the intent of the designer.
Man, that brings it all home. It's such a cohesive journey. Let's just trace the arc we just walked one last time.
Okay.
We started with the idea that the Qur'an isn't just a recipe book. It's a classroom. We learned that the teacher is Al-Akram, the most noble, and his entire goal is to make us Kareem noble.
We learned that the enemy is Basti, the lowliness of lies. And the tool to fight it is taqwa, seeing God, living under the gaze.
Yes.
And finally, we realize that our very creation, from the first idea in the divine mind to the painting on water, was built specifically for this purpose.
It tells us that nobility isn't just something nice to have. It is the fundamental reason we exist. It is the definition of a successful human being in this paradigm.
So here's the question for you listening, and this is the provocative thought Dr. Riza's lecture really leaves us with. It's a challenge, really.
It is. If God is the designer, Khalik, who envisioned you before you physically existed, and he designed you specifically for the purpose of becoming cream noble, truthful, dignified, are you currently living up to those design specifications?
Or are you a product that has lost its way, functioning below its capacity?
Are you a product that has forgotten its purpose?
A question to carry with you through the week.
Yeah.
Are you living the recipe, or are you taking the class? A huge, huge thank you to Dr. Haider Riza for the profound source material. His work is a treasure trove, and we know we're just scratching the surface.
We are.
And again, a reminder that we are summarizing these complex ideas with the help of AI, so please, if this sparks something in you, go to the original lectures for the full, unmediated experience.
Indeed. There is always more to learn.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.